Welcome to the SH Monsterarts Godzilla Minus One figure review. Let's start out with the box. Yep, it's a box, all right. And a pretty nice looking one as well. I like the simplicity. There's some stringy stuff on it, I guess. Neat feature. Here's a pretty cool promo picture of the figure, as well as a really cool window cutout in the shape of the logo where you could see the figure if it was in there. Don't look at that. A cool picture on the side. A nice little blurb in Japanese about Yuji Sakai. Love to see it. Then there's that side. And a pretty boring top, but no big deal. And finally, a nice aggressive pose from the figure on the bottom. Oh, and the Bandai seals and whatnot. Yeah, a pretty nice package overall, I would say. I will say mine came a little damaged. It's not quite fully box shaped. It's like box that was exposed to a little bit of humidity shaped. All right, let's get on to this beaut. If you didn't know, Godzilla Minus One is the latest Godzilla Toho film and quite possibly their best to date. If you haven't seen it, I recommend seeing it as soon as you can. It's amazing. And this is Bandai Tamashii Nations' SH Monsterarts interpretation of this beautiful and gross monster. So we are going to combine sculpt and paint application into one section to make it easier so we're not looking this figure 3 times over. Although, spoiler, that wouldn't be a bad thing. This figure comes in at about just under 7 inches, 6.5 to the head and almost 7 to the highest dorsal plate. Okay, let's examine the face and more specifically, the eyes and their derp levels. Not bad, not too bad. I think the sculpt captures his general face shape. The eyes could have used more attention. In the movie, he has these like striking and terrifying eyes that I wish the figure could replicate. They are very small, so I understand. They did a good job with paint using a lighter brown to show the scarring on his cheek. That's cool. Overall, the head has a beautiful sculpt, capturing his deep and spiky grooves on the top of his head. His eyebrows are pretty spot on, and I like how they rendered his teeth sort of jagged. Good weathered bone paint application on the teeth as well. And I like his jaw spikes. Is good. His mouth and tongue are a deep red with black to accentuate how grimy and nasty this bastard is. His hands and claws are wonderfully sculpted, really capturing how aggressive this monster is. I love the scaling on the top side of his hands, as well as the lighter brown, almost orangish highlights to stand out from the deep desaturated brown paint that is the base color for the figure. Also, elbow spikes. Palms actually have some detailing to them as well, although there's a little seam, no big deal. Wonderful, deep, nasty, crusty, bumpy scale details on his chest with those lighter brown orange highlights. Love that. And guys, just bask in the glory of all the detailing in this whole section of Minus Goji. The deep grooves and bumpy textures show how tortured and in pain this version of Godzilla is. This is obviously continuing the idea that his skin should represent the horrors of actual radiation damage from survivors of the bombs. This sounds weird, but I love the paint and detail on his crotch area, and I stand by that. Uh-oh, internet, put your wieners away or whatever. We are now going to cover his feet. And no worries, no kink shaming here, especially since holy shit, his feet. The scaling, the cohesive highlighting, the nails, it is all so well done. If you're like me, one of my favorite shots that could ever be in any Godzilla film is his tootsies stomping down from ground level, looking up, and we get that in the movie, and we get a great rendering of his feet here. Also, exceptional detailing on the bottom of his gripper. Even the nails are painted, and strange note, no stamps or dates or anything molded in. Next up, his tail. I would say this is my second favorite part. Even in this highly articulated section, they managed to sculpt it very accurately to its film counterpart. In the film, we get some great close-ups of his tail tearing through Ginza buildings, and they definitely consider that in the sculpting of this figure, it looks like. Not much paint variation, though. And now, my absolute favorite part of this figure, and possibly the best rendering of any Godzilla dorsal spines from this company. Well, his dorsal spines. They are jagged, they are sharp, they are a little delicate, so be careful, and some are really tiny, so do not handle this figure from the spines. Mine did actually have a few bent spines, and if you get this figure, yours probably will as well, but I fixed it in all of 30 seconds with some heat and bending them carefully back into its natural straight form. But all I have to say is, SH Monsterarts, bravo. Great sculpt, great paint app here, and you even get some spines that look like they're popping out like in the film. Overall, sculpt and paint get a Godzilla-sized thumbs up each. You can kind of tell that the SH Monsterarts line favors the Toho Godzillas, and that's okay. I love what they're doing here, and I cannot wait to see future variations of this guy. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Speaking of, let's look at all his accessories. Okay, there's got to be some good ones in here. The movie had so many What? That's right, no accessories. Now, I don't know what the timeline was like on this, but I gotta say, I am disappointed. The movie was ripe for the picking of great figure accessories, and they dropped the ball here. I imagine they are going to do many more versions of this Godzilla, so to fill the void of the accessories section, here's a brief list of all the potential options that I think would make for some great accessories in the future. Shikishima's Kamikaze Plane, Shikishima's Shinden Plane, Godzilla Atomic Breath Beam, Godzilla Atomic Breath Beam with Mushroom Cloud Effect, this Japanese ship Godzilla throws, this Japanese boat Godzilla chomps on, this Chinese ship Godzilla punches, this guy that Godzilla steps on, this Ginza building, this train Godzilla chomps on, with little Noriko hanging out at the bottom, Takashi Yamazaki jumping up and down with glee, Shikishima having a panic attack, Akiko's drawings, but this time it's Godzilla, they put on Godzilla. You get the idea, Bandai. Get to work. We want this. Thank you. Again, I am guessing they are going to milk this Godzilla because right now he is their money pit and so many people love this Godzilla. I know people who don't collect action figures who are buying this figure. I cannot wait to see what they come up with. I vote the guy he steps on. Anyways, let's talk articulation. Ball joint at the head. Ball joints at the section of the neck, but mine are a tad stiff. Hinge, it seems, at the jaw. The tongue is articulated on a hinge joint. Oh, and these three spines are also able to move on a ball joint, so you can get Godzilla to look up about this high for roaring and swimming poses. Be careful of these three that move. They are tiny and pop out often. See? Okay, he has some nice rotation at the boobular area and a tad at the waist. Again, mine is a bit stiff, but I'm sure Heat can fix that. He can rotate about this much, but you have to be mindful of the dorsal spines because they could catch and maybe even break on the back here. Okay, ball joint at the shoulder. Can do a full 360 as expected. Rotation at the bicep area. There are also two ball joints on either end of the elbow and a ball joint at the wrist. He can T-pose decently well. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. That's a clean spread. His thunder thighs can do a full 360. Ball joint at the knee for some good motion and a little free-floating knee cover here. And an ankle rocker ball joint for rocking ankles. And for all you weirdos, again, no shame, his tootsies are articulated. Yes, each toe can move and has a decent range as well. Pretty neat. Uh-oh, cover your eyes. And of course, we get a very nice tail. Sometimes the Monsterarts line can be hit or miss with this, but his tail can move and then stay put where you move it. Absolutely love it. You can get him in some pretty neat poses too. This one I have to hold up, but you could brace him up with like a stand. And here's the G-Man going for a dip. I love that boat scene. Holy crap, best scene in the movie. Godzilla here gets a big old thumbs up for articulation. No complaints. You can even get him into some poses from the posters, which is pretty sweet. All right, scale time. Here he is next to SH Monsterarts Godzilla 2019 and Kong. Here's how he looks next to the superior version of Godzilla. Scales well with this building. A little too big next to Godzilla 1964 because they made this one small, but who cares? That's my favorite figure. Fight me. Oh look, Grogu Brookheads and Movie Monster Series Shin Godzilla. Here he is next to NECA Godzilla 2019 and Master Chief. I need an atomic lizard. All right, so here's how we are going to rate these figures in these reviews. Is the figure great, good, or bad? And should you buy, wait, or move along? Nothing to see here. In my opinion, based on the paint application, the sculpt, the posability, and just the love that obviously went into this figure, I think it is a great figure. Truly, it is wonderful, and minus its eyes not completely capturing how they are in the film, which is a pretty iconic part of this Godzilla, everything else makes up for it. So you would think that it being a great figure would also make it a buy, right? Wrong. Because it doesn't come with any accessories in a reality where the movie gave it so many options, really hurts the buyability. Now, and I say this because SH Monsterarts seems to put a little more love into the Toho monsters. I am almost positive they are going to release more versions with hopefully plenty of accessories. They just cannot miss that opportunity. So this is unfortunately a wait, but very close to a buy. Do I regret my purchase? No. So if you saw this review and think that this is the right figure for you, then go for it. I'm not going to blame you. I, again, don't regret this purchase at all. I'm just saying, sit tight. There is probably much more to come. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching this review. What do you think of this figure, and are you picking it up? If you did already, how do you like it? I would love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments. Now get the fudge out of here.